But no, the reason why I brought this up in the same Luke, relating to what you said about the miraculous birth, because what we actually read here, it must be the case that the birth wasn't miraculous.
Okay.
Because if you read same Luke 2, we go down to Luke 2 and 21. And it says, and when the 8 days were accomplished for the circumcising of the child, his name was called Jesus, which was so named of the angel before he was conceived in the womb. And when the days of purification, according to the law of Moses, were accomplished, they brought him to Jerusalem to present him to the Lord. As it is written in the law of the Lord, every male that openeth the womb shall be called holy to the Lord. So the fact that she had to do days of purification, anything to do with purification is because the blood came out. So that means having to do that would indicate that it wasn't blood was there in the delivery.
I think it's trying to draw too much from the text.
Yeah.
It says every male that opens the womb shall be called holy. Well, he's there in the uterus, in the womb, for 9 months. He effectively opens it by growing in it. And so she's following a procedure which she'd have to follow, in that Jesus was baptized by John the Baptist, but he had no sin.
Yeah.
She's going to follow in the law of Moses, though she has no need to. It is just because they're faithful Israelites. So Jesus is a faithful Israelite following the law of Moses, not just the baptism of John. But he need not have done that. There's nothing sinful in him.
Well, but when you look at 22 though, it says, and when the days of her purification.
Yeah.
So he's saying her purification, but so purification is from something.
Yes, but it's only the ritual of purification. It's not that she was any woman who has a child in ancient Israel is going to be impure from that act. But she was having a child in a unique way. And so what she's doing is, like her son was unique in his own way, but still followed the law. She's unique in her way, but still follows the law.
But she wouldn't be, because if no blood came out, then that means the purification would be unnecessary.
So why would Jesus be baptized by John when he wasn't sinning?
Oh, because of what he said to John, that to fulfill righteousness. So
yes, but the point of baptism was a sort of precursor of the baptism that we would get as Christians. But it was still a baptism to recognise sin. Jesus undergoes that baptism, which everybody else who underwent it was because they were sinners. So yes, he's saying do it anyway to fulfill all righteousness, but it isn't a baptism to fulfill righteousness. It is a baptism for sin.
Right, but I don't know if you remember, I probably remember somewhere in John, when he talks about, I think it's just before John 4, yeah, it might be John 3, where they came and talked to John the Baptist, and they were talking to him about, I think it was purification they called it.
Right.
So, but purification, that would be in relation to the priesthood.
You'll have to take me to the verse.
All right, yeah, it's John 3 and 25.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it says, then there arose a question between some of John's disciples and the Jews about purifying. And they came unto John and said unto him, Rabbi, he that was with thee beyond Jordan, to whom thou bearest witness, behold, the same baptizeth all men. Come to him. John answered and said, a man can receive nothing except it be given him from heaven. So notice the questions about purifying, and then they're asking the question about baptism. So it seems as if because the way I see it anyway is that one of the reasons for baptism is because of the fact that the priest had to go into that big bowl with the cow horns, I think it was, in Leviticus, or is it? I think it's in Leviticus. They had to make that big bowl in front of the temple.
Gosh, I can't recall. But anyway.
Yeah, and the priests are supposed to go. They have to dip in it, and that's a part of the purification process.
Okay, but you still have other issues that Jesus was circumcised.
Yeah.
Now, what on earth is Jesus being circumcised for? He's the Son of God.
Oh no, but that's because of the covenant. So the covenant says that they have to be circumcised.
Okay, so he doesn't need to be circumcised, though, does he? The Jews do need to be circumcised as little babies, but he doesn't need to be, and yet it's done to him. Like things are done to Mary which don't need to be done.
Yeah, but the circumcision is a set process you do. But it's the fact that,
As is purification.
yeah, but you think that if she didn't need to be purified, with the way that Luke seems to be so good at, like, finding stuff out.
Yeah.
If you'd have found out that no blood had come out, you'd have put in. Remember what he said about Joseph being Jesus' father? You put it in brackets. So you expect him to be like how good he is to put in brackets, even though she didn't need purifying.
Well, listen, we can say what you're saying here is quite ingenious. It's just that I think that there's sufficient parallel between how Jesus was subject to the law, yet there was absolutely no need for him to be subject to any bit of the law. Mary was subject to the law, and there was no need in these respects for her to be subject to the law. So they both followed a parallel obedience to the law, in my view. Your reference to Luke, interesting point, but I just don't feel that there's enough information in here to get your ball across the line.
Right, but what you're saying about Jesus is not subject to the law, where do you get that?
Because he's the inventor of the law.
Yeah, but he came as a human. So
I know, but he's in his human nature.
Yeah.
Right, he's here, that's true. But the person Jesus in our religion is the Son, is God the Son.
Yeah.
God is not subject to his law. He might want to give the appearance of being so for the sake of those around him, but he actually isn't subject to the law. The points about baptism, no need, he's not a sinner. Circumcision, no need because he's the Son of God. But he goes through it because he's taken to himself a human nature.
Yeah.
But that's an appearance of him being a normal, ordinary human being.
Yeah, but the thing about it is that if he was in some way not human, that's the only way that he would not require circumcision. But if he's fully human,
Yeah.
which you know he was because he died.
Oh yeah,
blood
yeah.
came out.
He's fully God. He's fully human, yeah, but he's fully God. This is the problem. He being fully God, and his personhood being God, then, strictly speaking, there's absolutely no need for him to go through any of the rituals.
Yeah, so his person and the God part of him, as you say, wouldn't, but the human part would, because he's fully human. So because it's being fully human, he would have to go through anything that Moses said had to be done to a full human. He would have to do it.
If he was a divine person and a human person, but the person is divine, the divine person possesses a human nature.
Yeah.
This means that the divine person, because the law applies to persons, and so if this person is divine, though he possesses a human nature, he's not subject to the law in actual fact, because he doesn't need to build a relationship with God the Father. He already has it from time immemorial, I could say, as God. So there's no need to be circumcised. He is not, even in his human nature, he's sinless. So there's no need to be baptized.
Right. So.
And in fact, the circumcision relates to sin as well as bringing you into the family of God.
Well, not really. It's you come out, and after 8 days you get circumcised. So that's just a standard thing that every Israelite human happens to them. So since his body was the same Israelite human body, that's what he said he wanted to be, then he'd have to follow the same thing that the other people's human bodies as well had to follow.
Yes. Okay, I think you and I have thrashed this one, and as I say, I don't think there's sufficient in the text to say that Mary would have had Jesus in the normal way that another woman would. You've pointed out texts, which I understand, you've pointed out, but I just don't think they get, as I said, don't get the ball over the net.
Right. So
and there's it's very ancient in tradition that she did not have the child in the normal way. So the question then is, are those traditions an invention? are we actually today looking at this with clearer eyes than Christians did centuries ago? One could argue either way without knowing for certain. But Jesus established the church, which is the authoritative voice that he's left with us. And the church is saying he was not born in the normal way. She remained a perpetual virgin. However one understands that, the perpetual virginity is a dogma of the church.
Right. So